Oh, there's sound. Is that sound? Okay, shall I start? Am I in vision? Right, okay. I can't believe it, can you? Really sorry about that. But we're back anyway. We've got some sound now, I believe. We haven't got sound. We have got sound? We have got sound. Right, okay, well, let's try again. Welcome to this, the 7th Revolution Trains Facebook Live. You'd think we'd have the hang of it by now, wouldn't you? At least this live broadcasting isn't quite as easy as I thought it was. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and thanks for bearing with us for the first catastrophic couple of minutes where we didn't have sound, but we're here with you now. We've got lots and lots to talk about, and with a bit of a delay already, I'm not going to hang around too much. But the first thing I want to do is say that, as ever, Mike Hale, the other half of Revolution Trains, will be joining us with some pre-recorded inserts to talk about a couple of our projects, because I always like it when Mike gets in on the act. And also I'm going to talk a little bit about something before we get into the real meat of the Facebook Live, which is to say that we're absolutely delighted and thrilled that recently our N-Gage KUA nuclear flask wagons were voted N-Gage Model of the Year 2020 by the readers of Model Rail magazine. So we're absolutely thrilled with that, and we were really surprised and delighted. But we were even more surprised when we discovered that we'd also received the award for Manufacturer of the Year for 2020. So that was a real thrill and a genuine surprise. In honour of that, I'm going to do the time-honoured thing, live broadcast. I mean, things have already gone a bit wrong tonight, so let's hope they don't go any wronger. I'm going to try and open this little bottle of fizz for us to have a little toast. And you'll see, they always taught me, turn the bottle, not the cork. Here we go. Hey! I'm going to pour out a little glass here, because we are toasting, and we're not just toasting Revolution Trains here, because this isn't just about Revolution Trains. As you all know, Revolution Trains operates by crowdfunding. So every single model we produce is down to you, our friends, our supporters, our customers who've ordered. So what I'd like to say is cheers. Thank you very, very much indeed for everything you do to help us to hopefully give you what you want. Chin chin. Oh, that's not bad. Okay. Anyway, so now to the matter at hand. I'm hoping that somewhere in London, Mike will have been joining me at that moment for a little toast as well. Thanks again to everybody who helped make us N-Gage Manufacturer of the Year 2020 in the Model Rail Reader Vote Awards. Tonight, then, what have we got for you? What's on the agenda? So we're going to be showing you samples of our forthcoming N-Gage IIA Drax biomass hoppers. We're going to be showing you samples of our forthcoming JNA Ealnos box wagons. I'm going to show you samples of the N-Gage Zander box wagon. That's actually already been shown on our website because it arrived just before Christmas, but I thought I'd show it on video as well. We're also unveiling two completely new projects. One of them is an N-Gage wagon, and the other one is a locomotive, and it comes hot on the heels of our, thank you very much indeed, very well received Class 92s, but it's a 00 locomotive. It's our first 00 locomotive, so it's a bit of a step into the unknown. We're really excited about it, and we hope you will be too. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to show you the N-Gage Drax Power Hoppers. So here we go. If we come to the close-up camera, these are the Iid. Hopefully, if we can get it into focus here, put my hand in front. That sometimes helps. Come back a little bit. These are the IIA-D Engage Hoppers. These are for carrying biomass, which is much lighter than coal. It's much lighter than most things, which is why these have been designed to be absolutely to them. We are struggling to get this into focus for you, don't worry. There we go. These are absolutely built to the maximum of the loading gauge, and they were built for Drax in 2013. There are a fleet of around 225 of them in service now, and they are used basically to bring biomass, which is effectively wood chips and pellets, from seaports to Drax Power Station in North Yorkshire. They travel from Merseyside, they travel from North East England. They usually operate in long trains of around 22 to 25 wagons, but of course even a train of 12 or 13 would look really impressive in N-Gage. Now I'll show you what the real things look like. We've got this really nice photograph by Neil Harvey showing a Colas liveried Class 66 with a train of Drax biomass hoppers behind it. Now what's quite interesting about these is you'll see that the three wagons behind the locomotive there, 4 in fact, are all in the original Drax livery. There are 3 different versions of the livery now. We're offering those ones, but if we show you some of the livery drawings we've been preparing, ready to get decorated samples ready, as well as the Drax ones, there are also some that like the Drax ones with Northern Powerhouse. And then on top of that, Drax have just introduced a new livery, which they're calling Renewable Pioneers. Now these are 2 of the versions of it. There are actually 4 in total. The other 2 have a dam and a turbine on them. And the reason for that is that some of the original wagons are now getting on for 7-8 years old, and the vinyls on them are getting a little bit tatty. So Drax is going through a program of changing over all its wagons to the new vinyls. So you can get all of those you can order them exclusively from Rails of Sheffield, who are supporting this project, and we'd like to say a big thank you to Rails for helping us bring this one to fruition. They are at the EP stage, as you've just seen. We're expecting decorated samples probably in around 6 to 8 weeks. If they're all okay, and I hope they will be, then we'll be going straight into production. Hopefully the models will be here in the summer. But I'll say now what covers all of our products at the moment, which is that items in production, it's difficult to be completely clear on how long they're going to take to get here, because production is being hampered by the ongoing, albeit reducing, falling impact of COVID. So of course we will just try to keep you up to speed as best we can with where the production is, but they'll be hopefully here by the summer. Now for news of our Class 1 to 8 diesel parcels units, let me introduce Mr. Mike Hale.
Hi everyone, as Ben said, I'm here to tell you about the progress on our 1 to 8. So the 1 to 8 has taken us iron out all the differences and variations, of which there are an incredible number for such a small class of 10. I think when we started this project that we could never have imagined that there would be so many variations over the class, and that's been quite difficult for the factory in terms of making sure that they cover every single variation in the CAD. But we think that we're fine. Hi everyone, as Ben said, I'm here to tell you about the progress on our 1 to 8. So the 1 to 8 has taken us quite a while to iron out all the differences and variations, of which there are an incredible number for such a small class of 10. I think when we started this project that we could never have imagined that there would be so many variations over the class, and that's been quite difficult for the factory in terms of making sure that they cover every single variation in the CAD. But we think that we're finally there with the final set of CAD corrections. Once those are all implemented and we've signed them off, then we'll be able to open our order book and ultimately get the 1 to 8 into tooling, which I'm sure you're as keen to see as we are. Obviously, to open the order book, we need to be able to tell you which livery versions we're doing. So we've spent quite a bit of time recently trying to work out what gives the sort of best split and coverage of different liveries versus time periods and geographical coverage. And we think we've sort of nailed that down. And so what we've done is we've gone for a sort of a 4-2 split between the Western region versions and the Midland region versions of the 1 to 8. So for those of you perhaps not so familiar with the 1 to 8, there were 4 Midland region 1 to 8s built, and they all appeared without a corridor as built, and the main distinguishing feature was that they actually featured a centre head code box, which they retained all through their service. So we're going to do 2 versions of the Midland region 1 to 8. So the first will be 55987 in olive green with single speed whiskers. So that's pretty much as built, and so that will obviously hopefully appeal to some of the early green diesel modelers and transition era modelers. The other Midland region version we're going to do is 55990 in all over BR blue with full yellow ends, but instead of having the actual head codes displayed in the head code boxes, that'll be with domino markers instead of the head code. As I said, we've gone for a 4-2 split, and that was because the Western region versions lasted a little bit longer typically than the Midland region version, so we figured that they would have a bit longer lasting appeal. And the other thing was that some of the Western region 128s also got moved around the country to various locations, including up into the sort of Midland region and the sort of northwest. So the 4 versions we're going to offer of the Western region version are in perhaps chronological order: 55994 with a W prefix. So that'll be all over green again with single speed whiskers, but obviously this time it'll have a corridor and split head code boxes. That will be followed by W55991, again a blue, BR blue all over with full yellow ends, but this time still with a corridor, but rather than having the head code boxes, it'll have marker lights, so they were a sort of later adaptation of some of the Western region 128s. And then we're going to actually offer 2 Royal Mail red versions. We're going to offer 55992 and 55993, and what that gives you is one version which retained its corridor throughout, and a second version which had the corridor removed and panelled over. So that gives a nice mix of liveries that we hope that will appeal to everyone. Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks very much indeed, Mike. Very good. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about another multiple unit that we've got in development, which is the Class 313. Now, the CADs for that are pretty much finalised, just a few little tweaks, so we can certainly show you the CAD of the driving car. This is the car with the cab in it. It's not actually the powered car. They'll be powered from the centre car, so we can now show you the pantograph car as well, which will have the power the pantograph on it, of course, and we'll have the motor in it as well. Now, one thing to say about all the images you're seeing tonight is that from about 10 to 9 onwards, we're going to start progressively uploading a series of stories into our own website, the news pages. So all the images that you're seeing here will be shown, the high resolution images of the models that we're showing you in samples. So if the camera doesn't focus, it's not a disaster. You'll still be able to see all these models in high resolution, so you can see what you think of them. As for the Class 313, well, you've just seen the driving cars and the pantograph car. Now we've now identified the liveries that we are going to offer, or the ones that we think are of the most interest. Now we're going to start right from when these units were introduced in 1976 with BR Blue Grey, and they had BR Blue Grey at its original form there, with the British Rail totem on the driver's door, of course, and from about the mid-1980s, 1986, 1987, I think, they started going into Network Southeast. Again, we'll also be offering Network Southeast for people to pre-order. After Network Southeast, they lasted in that livery for quite a while, and then you come to privatisation in the mid-1990s, and 2 of the operators that got the Class 313s were Silverlink County, who have a very attractive purple, white and green livery, and also First Capital Collect. Now I'm talking about the Silverlink County first of all. Now that one is going to be offered in 2 variants, either as Silverlink County as it was, but also as London Overground, because these units got a London Overground livery, simply branding on the side, and that means that that particular colour scheme actually lasts for far longer. It also, of course, is ideal to go with our Silverlink Class 321s that are now in production, and also our original livery Pendolinos. The other livery, First Capital Connect, that livery is known, I've been told, as Urban Lights, and again that's the First Capital Connect version of the livery, but we'll also be offering it with a different tampo print on the side as Great Northern. Now we are reasonably confident that there'll be enough orders for those both to proceed. Obviously we'll have to wait and see what the orders stack up like. Other liveries that we've identified, now the most striking one perhaps is the yellow Network Rail livery. Now when it was first introduced, it just had Network Rail's logo on the side in blue and red. However, However, one year after introduction in 2014, that livery was replaced by the livery you've seen there, which is it still carries today and it's still in use today. It says delivering future signalling on the side, and it has that large black vinyl just behind the driver's cab. And so that's a nice three-car unit that's kind of a go-anywhere unit, really. Well, anywhere there's overhead and third rail, because it's used to test the signalling on electric railways. Moving on then to the present day, and these 313s are still in use on the south coast and seem likely to stay in use for some considerable time to come. And so the two versions we're offering there are the southern current version of the sort of the white and two-tone green, and also the last livery that we're interested in looking at is the livery that's currently carried by 313201. Now that's interesting, and we can show you a photo of that by a Royal Sparrow of the Railway Herald, because this was repainted at the end of 2017 into a version of the heritage livery, because this particular unit, it's the first PEP unit, and they were the first kind of current generation units with power operated doors and so on. So they have historical significance, and that unit has been set aside to join the national collection. And the heritage version of the unit you saw there has all grey doors, so we're going to offer that one as well. But we think at least two of those are probably going to be retailer exclusive, so keep an eye on our website. We will be taking orders on the liveries that we are going to be offering, and as ever, the earlier the order, the better the price you get. The early bird price will last for a few months, but that'll always be the cheapest price they're in at, and that helps us get the project going. But there will be a couple of retailer exclusives to look out for, and of course we will tell everybody about those. As far as progress on that, well, the CAD, as I said, is almost finalised, and we're expecting that to go into tooling probably as soon as the next couple of weeks. Now then, next thing to show you is the JNA Ealnos box wagon samples. Now I've got a couple here. So this one, which I'm going to hold up first, this is the 11 rib version, and this is the 11 rib with no body side door. Now we're actually doing about 5 different versions of this wagon. This version is correct for the 2-axe livery. It has the larger air tank on the underside there, and you can see all that lovely underframe detail. And if you look inside, you can see just a flat 4 that actually pops out. You can see the weight in the wagon there. And what we're also including with every single model is a fake load, and the fake load just drops in. And there is a reason we're doing this, which I'll come on to in a minute. So the fake load, it looks smooth at the moment. That's because this is just a first EP sample. Obviously the production models will have that load textured and painted. Now, as well as that version I've just showed you, the plain version, we're also offering a version with a flashing tail lamp at one end. So that's the end with the flashing tail lamp. You can just see that little black part is the tail lamp, but of course that has to have the mechanism with the battery holder to operate the tail lamp. There's a little switch on the underside that you'd probably access with a cocktail stick, and that's why we've included the load, because obviously you can't really have a flat load in there with the batteries in there. So again, when you put the load in this one, it hides the mechanism. So if you're running your train fully loaded, you can have it with a flashing tail lamp if you wish. Now those Ealnos wagons, again, the livery diagrams, we've got those sorted out. We've got a great photo to show you as well of the real things by Steve Madden. So just to give you a sense of what these wagons actually operate with. Now they operate right now across the network. These Ealnos wagons, they seem to have become the go-to box wagon for any operator. DB operate them in red, VTG operate them in silver and 2 shades of blue, Mendip Rail operate them, Tarmac operate them, 2-axe operate them. So, and and in terms of the loads, we can show you what the loads look like. I mean, there's a photo here that actually I took, would you believe, at Peak Forest, showing how the loads are. So you see that the ballast or the stone or whatever they're carrying is kind of piled up. They're just loaded by mechanical diggers. They're not the kind of wagons like hoppers that need to have special loading and discharge facilities, which makes them probably so versatile and useful. So those wagons that you've seen the EP sample, the decorated samples are coming soon. The livery drawings are about to be sent to China. You'll see there we're offering lots and lots of different liveries. All the details will be, as I said, on our website very soon after this live is finished, and you can see which ones you like the look of and order away. And the deco samples, again, hopefully 6 to 8 weeks, with the models themselves coming here hopefully sometime during the summer. And again, we expect that if you can't spring for a whole set now with us, we expect retailers will be stocking these, as they are now with most of the models that we're producing after the event. Okay, so that's that on those. And what I'd like to do now is introduce Mr. Mike Hale again, who's going to have a bit of an update on some of the new Revolution Trains accessories that we are offering.
Hello everyone. We've got a couple of accessories on the back of our recently delivered Class 92 in N-Gage that we thought might be useful for some modelers. So we've got two things. One is we've got some spares of the Brecknell Willis high-speed pantograph that came on our 92. We've got a small number of these as spares that we've been packaging up to be able to sell to you, and they'll be securely packaged because they're quite delicate, fragile pieces, as those of you that have got a 92 will know. The Brecknell Willis high-speed pantograph appears on lots of different locomotives and multiple units across the network, so we thought it could be useful for modelers. Those were priced at £6.95 each and will be available from our website after the end of this session. The other thing that we've got on the back of the 92 project was obviously we produced a number of unbranded and unnumbered 92s. And a few people have asked us, could they get the transfer sheet for that? If you purchase one of our unnumbered 92s from us, you should have already received the transfer sheet in the post. If you haven't, please just drop us an email and I'll get one to you. If you bought one from one of our retailers, again, please just drop us an email to let us know and we'll get a transfer sheet free of charge to you. But if for some reason you want the numbers and names and branding for yourself and you didn't buy one of our unnumbered 92s, you can purchase the transfer sheet from our website already. What you'll see is a small transfer sheet with a series of numbers on. That's got the cab repeater numbers as well as the main numbers, and also the vinyl nameplates that appeared on many but not all of the 92s. It's also got Europort brandings, SNCF brandings, EPS brandings, and the rail freight distribution strict speed link brandings that appeared for a very brief period on a few of the 92s. What we've not done, we haven't duplicated the numbers and names that we've already produced as ready to run models, because there didn't seem to be much point in that, and nor have we done the number sets and nameplates for the 92s that require cast plates, because we figured that you'd be able to get those number sets and nameplates from alternative sources. Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks very much indeed, Mike. That's all good. And so now we're going to talk a little bit. We talked about the 313s already, so now we're going to pick up and talk about the 314s, which are pretty much the same units, but they were used in Scotland, still 3-car sets. And there are 3 liveries they've carried during their lives. There's the Stratchclyde orange and black. There's the Stratchclyde PTE carmine and cream, and then there's the latest Scotrail livery, and we are planning to offer all 3 of those. The carmine and cream actually is possibly the one that lasted longest, because some of the units were actually in that livery, albeit with no kind of rail branding on, just the colours and the numbers, right up until the last units were withdrawn, which I think was towards the end of 2019, although I'm sure somebody will correct me if I've got that wrong. So those are the 3 liveries we're offering, and if we look at the carmine and cream livery, I think it's a really, really stylish looking livery. Looks really good, and again, as I said, so that photograph I think was taken in 2019 by Michael Allardyce, and it shows them as they finished their sort of service on the railway. Okay, so now we're moving on to our next all new announcement, and this is an N-Gage wagon, and I'm going to show you a photograph right now, and I don't think it needs much introduction. It is the Cartic 4 car carrier. Now the reason that we're doing these is that we're about to deliver the Semflow cement hoppers, wagons that we're producing in association with Accurascale, and we are thinking that we should now do another 1960s era wagon. Now those Cartic 4s were introduced in 1966. The actual first 2 prototypes experimental prototypes were built in 1964, but the main fleet of around 500 sets, I think, was introduced from 66 and all the way through to 1972. That's how long it took to build them all. The majority were used for delivering new cars. Some, though, were used by British Rail on its motor rail services. And so in the introductory format of having the open decks with the handrails along the top, we're offering 3 variants. The first is British Rail blue with rail grey interiors and the motor rail branding on placards along the sides. Then the next one down that you can see there is the matte blue. I think it's the same as Ford blue, but we'll call it matte blue. Matte big car transportation company. And at the bottom then you've got the sort of the deep orange colour of Silcock and Collings. So they're going to be the 3 that will suit you if you're operating or modelling from 1966 through to about 1981-82. Now from 1982, Silcock and Collings discovered there was a problem with stones either being thrown at trains or being thrown up from the ballast, causing damage to the new cars that were being transported. So they introduced wagons with side screens on, and we're offering both the original version from 1982 just with the side screens, and then Silcock and Collings also fitted curved black roofs along the top, and those roofs were hinged at each end so the cars could be driven on and off, and we're offering both those versions as well. Those are good for 1982-83 onwards, and that seemed like a good idea. So by 1984 and 85, Matt, who was still operating lots and lots of Cartic 4s, decided to get in on the act, and so they introduced a version, but instead of putting sort of plastic screens on the side, they put what was called Expomet metal mesh on the sides. And again, this version is the top version that we'll be offering. Now, in the mid-1990s, Matt was taken over by STVA, and of course anybody who is familiar with Revolution Trains products will know we have a very good relationship with STVA. We've already produced several of their car carriers in both their original pale grey livery and the current red livery. The Cartic 4s didn't last into the red livery. All of them were gone by the mid-2000s, but we're offering both the Matt and the STVA livery. At the moment, this project is in its early stages. We've got a very early CAD that we can show you here. This just shows the basic frame of one of the outer wagons, just getting the sort of the basic shape of it right. Lots of researchers got into this one, and these will be going on sale. We will be opening the order book on these in due course once the CAD is completed. But if you keep an eye on our website, you can see the CAD develop, and we'll show the finished CAD when we are happy with it. Okay, now moving on to the next project is the Zander model, which is the little box wagon. I'm just going to show this to the camera there. Now this is something that we actually put on our website just before Christmas, but I just thought I'd show it to you in video form. So this is the underframe from our Class B tanker, albeit without the discharge pipes, but still got the vacuum cylinders, and just a very, very plain box body. And these were converted to carry stone in, I think, the early 1970s, and they carried stone for some time in that guise. Then they were taken over by the civil engineers. Initially, they just carried a dirty version of the sort of brown livery that they carried as stone carriers, and then some of them received the attractive grey and yellow so-called Dutch livery, and we're offering all of those versions, and again you can order any of those on our website. Okay, so that's the Zanders. Now it's time for the big one. This is our big announcement of the night. We're really excited about this. This is something that's been taking quite a lot of work to get to this stage, and what we are delighted to do, and this follows the delivery of our Class 92 locomotive. So again, people who have heard us talk at these Facebook Lives or spoken to us at exhibitions, in the days when we could have exhibitions, will know that we're very clear that we don't like to overpromise. So we have been waiting to announce another locomotive for the Class 92s to arrive. Now they're here, and broadly speaking are receiving very good reviews, and some of the magazines have been incredibly generous with their praise for the model. We are confident about announcing our next locomotive, and rather than going for N-Gage, we are going to go for double O-Gage, and this is it. It's the Class 93, which is being built by Stadler for Rail Operations Group. And we'd like to thank both Stadler and Rail Operations Group, and in particular Neil Bennett, the Executive Chairman of ROG, for helping us to make this happen. It's going to be an interesting project. First of all, the real things haven't been built yet. ROG have ordered 10 with options on a further 20, and they are due to be delivered, the first of them, in 2023. And And what we are going to try and do with the agreement of Stadler and ROG is to progress the model in tandem with the real thing, and so that pretty soon after the real ones arrive and go into service, we should be able to have the models here and ready for our customers. Now, the issue with that, of course, is that we all know there have been situations in the past where companies have produced models of prototypes that aren't finished, and of course at the last minute a sudden grille gets put in somewhere or the exhaust position is moved. So that is something we're very aware of, and we're going to be very, very careful to avoid that, so that the models that you can buy are the models that actually run on the real railway. Now, what are they going to be used for, these locomotives? Well, they're tri-mode. That is, they are electric, 25,000 volts overhead. They are diesel with a high. They're not just a diesel for the last mile in the siding. They're a high-speed diesel engine, which will be so that the locomotive can pull trains on the main line when there's no overhead electrical power. But also, they're going to have a powerful battery, and that makes them the tri-mode and enables them to operate perhaps in urban environments or around stations virtually silently. So they're a very, very interesting new development. The first tri-mode locomotive to arrive in Britain on the railways here. Now, ROG are likely to use the first 10 for their core business of hauling trains, multiple units around the country for maintenance or to scrap or whatever. But ROG have also got really exciting plans for high-speed intermodal running at 110 miles an hour, and these locomotives are capable of 110 miles an hour, and also for new high-speed parcels logistics, centre to centre. And for that they're calling Project Orion, and they've converted a couple of 319, well I think 4 or 5 319 units. Some have also had diesel engines fitted and are called I think class 769 units, so they're bi-mode. Now, the idea of all of this is that you eventually will have electric vehicles picking up parcels, taking them to the rail depot, putting them on the train. They move at high speed to the next city centre, where again electric vehicles, unmanned electric vehicles, will deliver them to the passenger now, or the user. Now, the first trial of the 319s is starting, I think, in April, and so that's certainly something to keep an eye on. But really exciting developments on the real railway. We're really proud and excited to be a part of that, albeit in miniature form. The specification of the 00 model that we are proposing is going to be on our website again in about half an hour's time, so please go and check that out. And thanks again to Stadler and Rail Operations Group for working with us and for showing confidence in us to deliver what we believe will be an absolutely first-class project. Okay, so that's the big announcement. I hope that's good news to the ears of fellow modelers and enthusiasts everywhere. Just a couple of updates on some existing projects. If you ever want to know where our projects are at, there is the projects page on the Revolution website. Now, I promise we don't hold information back. If there's something I haven't mentioned tonight, like the Mark 5s or the Class 89 or whatever, it's because there's no update beyond what's on the projects page. So the latest on those is what's on the projects page. But what I will just do is bring you up to speed on the stages that various models are at. Shipping now, as in coming to the UK, the Semflow wagons, and also, dare I say this, the N-Gage Class 37 that we're producing in association with Helgen. Now, this is an exclusive because it's the only model that carries the DRS Compass livery. Now, Helgen are doing, I think, plain direct rail services blue, but this is the only one in the rather stylish DRS Compass livery. Now, those are heading this way now, so if you are interested in ordering, I suggest you do that fairly soon. In production at the moment, we have the N-Gage EcoFrets in GBRF blue or VTG EcoFret blue, in DB red, and also in VTG green as operated by Freightliner. We've also got the 00 IWA vans and timber carriers in production now. But as I said earlier on, in terms of production, as soon as we know they're ready for shipping, we'll let everybody know. We think it'll be about another 2 or 3 months, but it's quite hard to tell because of the ongoing impact of COVID. Decorated sample stage. Now, we are currently awaiting decorated samples of the little N-Gage PFA that we're doing with Accurascale, the IWA van and timber carriers in N-Gage, the IPA car carriers that I talked about earlier in N-Gage. Well, we're doing those in 00 as well. I think a couple of Facebook Lives ago we showed the EP1 samples of those. We're waiting for decorated samples now. We're waiting for decorated samples, of course, of the Drax biomass hoppers that I showed you tonight. And we're also waiting for decorated samples of the N-Gage MMA and JNA box wagons that we've shown you tonight. In tooling right now, we have Caroline in 00, and we have the N-Gage Mark 5 sleepers and TPE sets. The class 128 that we've talked about and the class 313/314 that we've talked about, the CADs of those are literally just about done. There's just a couple of tiny little adjustments that we need to make and a couple of things we need to confirm in terms of which detail variation goes with which particular version. Once that's done, they'll be signed off and they will be going into tooling soon. So hopefully we'll have EP samples of those in the next 6 to 8 weeks, maybe a little bit longer. Let's see. And models that are at the CAD stage is the N-Gage version of Caroline, the 00 Class 93 that we've just talked to you about, and also the N-Gage Kartik 4, which again you've seen that the very first sort of CAD shells of that have been done, but obviously there's lots more detail to be added and so on. Going to bring you a little bit of news about Sonic Models. Now obviously we're working with Sonic Models to introduce him to the UK market. He's a Chinese manufacturer who wants to create his own brand here. The 56XX, which is their first model, the N-Gage one, that's in production now. This photograph by Phil Parker shows the GWR version. There are lots of versions that we offered that people have ordered. There are additional versions in different liveries available from Rails of Sheffield. Unfortunately, these models are nearly done. They didn't quite leave the factory before Chinese New Year, but we are expecting them to be shipping within the next month. Sonic has it has another N-Gage locomotive in tooling. When the 56XXs arrive, we will unveil what that is. But again, we're very reluctant to overpromise or to be seen to be saying too much too quickly. So when the 56XXs are here, that's when we'll show what the next Sonic model is. But by that time, we believe there'll be a tooled sample of it to show you. He has CADs drawn up for 2 more N-Gage locomotives and 00 projects underway, including one 00 locomotive that is already fully tooled up, and it's actually being assessed at the moment by us here. So they will all start to be unveiled progressively once the 56XX arrives. That's pretty much it. The order books are open on several projects. You can order stuff from us. I mean, we've still got a tiny number of HOA hoppers in N-Gage in stock. We've still got a small number of car carriers in stock. These are sometimes we overorder a little bit, or sometimes they're cancellations or whatever. We've got the accessories that Mike talked about earlier, of course. And over there again, there are a tiny number of Class 92s. We don't have any DCC sound ones left, unfortunately. I think possibly retailers may have them. I don't keep across exactly what every retailer has got in stock. We have got a very small number of some of the DC ones available, but I suspect they'll probably be gone very, very soon. That's it. If you've got any questions that Mike hasn't answered, and I've seen that he's been answering questions on the live. I've been sort of checking it out here while I'm talking to you. Something's just made me laugh actually by Stephen Beck, and I'm not going to say what it is. So I've been looking at that, and we will be on. I'll go on to the N-Gage forum a little bit later on, and I'll answer questions on there. There is a Revolution Trains Facebook Live thread on there. You can ask me questions, and I'll try to answer them as best we can. And I think that's pretty much it. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining us. Apologies once again for the tiny little bit of finger trouble at this end. Honestly, we tested all the sound just before we started. Something seems to be resetting. We use a program for doing these Facebook Lives that allows us to mix still images and allows us to mix video in of Mike and everything. And then that program seems to have some kind of a bug in it where it suddenly just decides to reset everything. And so you test the sound and literally 10 seconds later it catches you out. So we're going to try and figure that out and work out what went wrong. But thanks to all of you for bearing with us. And we really appreciate it. Thanks again for the support that you gave us to help us win the award we won. We're really grateful and proud about that. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.